It's time for Drummer Nation. Welcome to Drummer Nation. This is your host, Michael Vosbein, with episode number 24, The World Needs More Drummers. Released April 24th, 2017, my guest for this show is Andy Zildjian. Andy is the CEO and president of Sabian Cymbals. Coming up next on Drummer Nation. I'm proud to now welcome Sabian Cymbals as an official sponsor of Drummer Nation. The former Crescent Vanguard series are now widely available as part of the legendary Sabian HH models. HH cymbals are traditionally hand-hammered into shape and sound by Sabian craftsmen. Each cymbal receives between 2,000 and 4,000 hammer blows, resulting in increased musicality, tone of complexity, and unmatched sonic texture favored by drummers in the know for generations. Find out more about the Vanguard series and all other Sabian models at Sabian.com. Many of you know that I work for Classic Drummer magazine, doing interviews and articles for them. The team there of Steve Bryant, Billy Jensen are just terrific, and they asked me to help them cover the NAMM show last year. Well, I thought it would be a great idea if we got interviews with some of the great industry people who are my friends that you never really get to see. And to that end, they were all very gracious and we got a lot of interviews. However, the magazine only comes out a couple of times a year. So with these people being so generous with their time, these interviews were pretty cool. We wanted to make sure they got out. They deserve to be seen. So Classic Drummer has allowed me to air some of them on Drummer Nation airspace. To be clear, they are Classic Drummer interviews, and Classic Drummer is a great magazine that you can subscribe to absolutely free at their website, classicdrummer.com. So here's the first one with Andy Zildjian. Hope you enjoy it. And we're on the floor of the 2016 NAMM show at the Sabian booth. It's my honor to interview Andy Zildjian, my friend.
Oh.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing all right, Michael.
Tell us a little
nice to see you.
Same here. Tell us a little of the history of the company for anybody who may not know.
A little bit about the company?
Yes.
Well, let's see. We are, I would say, the premier hand-hammered cymbal company in the world. Also, the most innovative cymbal company in the world. If you don't believe me, find out what we're doing this year and find out what everybody else does the next year. Not only that, but we're dedicated to making really good cymbals, instruments, musical instruments, as compared to trying to just carry on a legacy or try to just have a living or something like that. Our point is really to make the best instruments that we possibly can. Not just because it's a moniker, but it's because that's what we like. We really get pride and joy out of hearing people play our stuff and get a real, shot in the arm out of it. It's a thrill, and we've got pride. We've got pride, and we want to make the best cymbals that we possibly can.
Now that would be pretty much your dad's answer. Absolutely. If I talked to him 20 years ago, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. That was his whole reason for starting Sabian, really to start its own company, was because the art of hand-hammering cymbals had really been lost at that point. And the cymbal companies that were around, and I don't want to mention their names, but they're getting more into mass-producing cymbals and trying to make more money out of it as compared to making an instrument. And that was just an aspect of what we wanted to do. We really didn't want to have anything to do with that, so we left, started a company that was making high-end, really good-sounding cymbals that were made for what I think were the right reasons. And that's why we started Sabian.
Now, your dad started that when you were a young boy, right?
Oh, he started, well, actually, he'd been doing it all his life.
Well,
but when things started to change, yes, we started Sabian in 1981. We started selling everywhere except for the United States in 1982. And with our contract that we had with leaving the other company, we couldn't sell in the United States until 83, which was great because we made all of our mistakes overseas and brought everything, fixed it all by the time we got into the States.
So what was your involvement way back then?
Oh, at that point I was working at the factory a little bit, but I was still in school. So until I finished school, that's really what I was doing, working summer times maybe. Then, I had a stint in the Army, so that kind of interfered with a little bit of the work. But then I came out and I started working, I had done retail, I'd worked in the warehouse, and I wanted to learn everything from the bottom up. I didn't want to be one of these guys who says, well, I'm a family member, I have to be vice president. It's ridiculous. That's why some family companies are no longer owned by the families. And it loses the whole reason to be. You lose that emotion that's involved in having your own brand. So, Sabian started working as a road rep for our distributor at that point, HSS, down in the South. And then from there, I applied for and got the job as the East Coast Artist Relations Manager. And then that grew to the United States, that grew to North and South America. And then eventually, I've been doing so much work that when Danny retired, I applied for and got the job as president. So I know I had it in, but at the same time, I had to prove that I was going to do it well.
Part of your lineage, you had to prove yourself and start from the ground up.
Right.
And you mentioned the I word a minute ago, with the word I love to hear in this industry, innovation.
Oh, absolutely.
This company is really known for innovation. Can you mention some of the innovative products?
Well, sure. I mean, well, let's put it this way. When we started the company, there were probably about 300, 350 different types of cymbals, which would be sounds, sizes, and finishes that you could choose from. So some of those are redundant. Last year, I think there were probably about 5,200 different types of cymbal sounds, finishes, and sizes that you could select. So we started off with making hand hammers, then we came out with the B8, expanded that line, B8 Pro, and then we started a whole new revolution in cymbal sound, which was the AAX, which has been imitated by other companies time and time again. And just as an example, just something as what seems as silly, but needs to be investigated first, as putting a hole in a cymbal on the edge. Anybody can just cut a hole in the cymbal, but you have to know why. You have to know what the cymbal's going to do. And that's what we did. We tried to figure that out first, came up with the reasons, and put the holes in the cymbal. And then the next year, I had to laugh because one of our competitors was telling me, look what we did, look what we did. And I say, hey, congratulations. You know,
that's all you can say.
Copying is the best type of flattery, right?
So thank you very much. Now, artists have had a significant role in input your products as well, right?
Oh, artists, absolutely. Well, they're the cutting edge. Artists are out there not only finding, but defining what the trends are. And so keeping in touch with them and asking them how things work, what types of sounds they're looking for, what they think the next trend is going to be. It keeps us that much farther ahead of the curve. It's great. We love to have that.
I think they always have to have some key role in this industry of sound.
Plus, they're really fun to work with because most of them, not all, but most of them are really passionate the same way that we are about the sound. And that makes, the energy that comes out of that is awesome. It's fantastic.
Now, you've recently implemented an education program. What's that called?
The Sabian Education Network. What that is we're trying to give teachers, well specifically drum set teachers, assistance in improving their ability to teach, their resources, and also helping them with their business skills. And the idea is to help them improve how they relate to their students so that they can create and retain more students. And it's our way to try to help teachers and to help grow the business. Because if we can have more drummers, there's just a lot more love in the world at that point, isn't there?
More opinions, more drummers. Show me a group of drummers, I'll show you some people who aren't causing a lot of trouble.
I agree. And drummers are the only ones in the band that will give you a hug when they see you.
I know, I love this industry. You've also had some acquisitions recently. You bought Gonbob.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Okay, well, I'll give you two. One was Gonbobs. The reason why we got into Gonbobs is because Latin percussion was something that we were starting to make cymbals for Latin players. And they were talking to us about products. And there were some missing pieces that they were upset with. And hearing that and knowing that Gonbobs was really not being used the way it should, I asked the people who owned it if we could buy it, took it over, and it's been a very exciting ride ever since because Latin players, you think that drummers have passion, Latin players, oh my God, it's a whole new level.
They love that line. That's a legacy product.
And it's made in the correct shape for a Cuban sound, whereas many of them are more like, I wouldn't say Puerto Rican, but they're more like a South American shape, which is fine, but at the same time, it's not the same sound. It doesn't give you the same breadth of volume, the energy that comes out is different. So that's been a blast. Congas, bongos, all types of little hand trinkets, timbales. The other one was from my good friend Michael Bosbane.
What might that have been?
Crescent Cymbals. You look, so that everybody knows, you had some incredible IP, intellectual property.
Thank you.
And with the issues that were going on with working with Istanbul and Turkey, I understand it would be crippling. It'd be crippling.
It was absolutely crippling.
Absolutely.
And there was only one company we could turn to that was in line with what we did, who we trusted and knew how to make these cymbals.
Thanks.
So I noticed you have some out in the booth here. There'll be more coming out this next year, right?
Yes, there will actually be more coming out during the year. We have the HH Vanguard right now because we have so much stuff coming out. We wanted to make sure that this was isolated and people could see it specifically. And Michael, it's done quite well.
Great,
it's done quite well at the show.
The examples you have here are wonderful.
I love them. They're great. And the other thing we have coming out is for specific retailers who know how to sell hand-hammered product, who like to sell it, who really care about what it is and how it's made, and making sure that the player has the right sound. We're coming out with the Jeff Hamilton, the Stanton Moore, and the Element series, all of these three together for those dealers specifically, because they're the ones who are going to care about selling it. And that'll be out middle of the year. And at the same time, we're planning on another extension to HH, which should be, I've forgotten which line it is.
Some other line.
Another line.
That's fine.
Another
It's a
line.
busy day. I know you're losing your voice too. I won't keep you all day. The last thing is, last year at the NAMM show, there was quite a bomb dropped in the whole percussion distribution industry. So you've had to kind of reinvent Sabian distribution now.
Quite a bit.
And you're
Quite a
going
bit.
direct to dealers. Is that correct?
Yeah, last year we got hit by an avalanche of having to go direct. Expecting that we were going to do it in July, but having to do it in January. Really, you know that? I've got a good group of people working at the company, and they came together quite well. I'm very happy with what they did. Yeah, we had some real bumps in the road, but I think the second half of the year we really came out of that and learned a lot. I think we took those lessons learned and turned that into better processes, better connections. But one thing, anybody who's a retailer out there, thank you very much for giving us that time. I completely appreciate it. And really, very nice of you, very nice.
Of course, Sabian always in full support of their retail network.
Well, absolutely. Without retailers, especially retailers who know what they're talking about, what are you selling? A widget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Part of the family. The retailers are all part of the family with the artist group.
No question.
Well, thank you for your time,
Hey,
Andy.
Mike.
It's great talking to you at the NAMM show.
Thanks, Michael. It's good to see you, buddy.
Thanks. This is your host, Michael Vosbine, and I want to thank our friends at Atlanta Pro Percussion, Danette Classic Drums, Sabian Cymbals, and Classic Drummer Magazine. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.